you have like 50 names. What are we doing these days?
What do you mean?
Because it's Zelda, Diana.
Oh,
Black,
Zelda Khan Black. Yeah, that's where we're going now.
Okay, Zelda Khan Black. See, you were like, what the heck is he talking about? Well, welcome to the Tragedy Academy, a show created to bridge societal divides in a judgment-free zone using candor and humor. My name is Jay, and we are joined today by a prior academic alumni, Zelda. How you doing today, Zelda?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me again.
Dude, I'm so excited to have you back. You know, you held a special place in this show. So I was telling you before we started, and I don't talk about what I've released and things like that, but there was the intro track to this show was actually something that I put together based on how you made me feel you were, like, or what you were going through, but also you have fire. You're like comic book fire. And I love that. It's like you have that edge. Mm-hmm. So that's what we put into the song, or what I put into it. So you hold a really important place in this show. And it's because of how strong you went against the grain for where you came from and the way that you used your artistic expression to bring it to the forefront so other people can benefit. And coming from that kind of background myself, I want to do a song that was like a breakout. And I think that that's what you deserved. And I appreciate you for being one of the first guests to come on this newer edition of the show. So for those of you who don't know, Zelda's a voice actor. She's also an author, as well as an artist, correct?
Yeah. I'm all the things.
You're all the things. I absolutely love that. So tell us what you've been up to for the last 4 years.
Jeez, man.
It's been 4 years.
That is insane. I think I was in New York still, wasn't I?
Yes.
I was in like.
You had I think you were still talking about having left home not long back.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Then I think you're right. I must have just gotten here. I moved like 3 times since.
Yeah, I believe it.
So
that's why I said I've been watching the adventure from afar.
Yeah.
I'm like, check this out. She's just on a roll.
Yeah. I mean, it's been insane. I was trying to think. I was like, what was I doing last? I think it was mostly just kind of influencer stuff. I was just getting my feet in the ground and just learning my surroundings in LA. You were doing
an amazing crocker. Yeah. On TikTok that I would stop and watch a million times over.
It's so funny because I made like such creative and like storytelling, which did go viral and which did be well received on TikTok. But like me taking absolutely 15 seconds out of my day to go, no, not my raisins. I got like 5 million views. I got hundreds of dollars from it. I'm like, what?
What happened to life? Where did life take a turn where you can start buying your eggs by saying things like that in a voice while people scroll through the slot machine of terror? Happy, sad, happy, sad, happy, sad. And they find you and you get some money.
I was a substitute teacher for like 3 weeks before I got the opportunity to go to LA. And one of the kids was like, hey, aren't you on TikTok? I was like, oh, no, no, I am not. I don't know who that is. I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, all my authority is going to be gone. Like,
oh, yeah, you can't, because the things that you're saying on there, doing South Park and, Cartman or the mom. Oh, my God, dude, you're so good. Oh. I'm geeking out a bit. I've been watching you do this for so long that I've seen you start out doing other people's voices and then get into something like Parasomnia, where it's you. Like, I could legit hear you being a character.
That was such a cool experience.
It's different to hear somebody get the chance to unleash their acting with their own authentic voice. There's a big difference in that.
And I got to do a lot of that.
What was that leap like?
I mean, I got to do a lot of that with Spotify. And it's funny because, you think like, oh, well, I can do all these voices. It's not like it doesn't mean something, but you could do 500 voices. And if you can't actually act, it doesn't mean anything, as opposed to if you can just act with your grounded voice. Like, for example, like Cissy Jones is a really good example. Like, she can do accents and she can do like high range or low range, but like her bread and butter is just her voice. And I think that's the coolest thing. It's like, it is so easy. It's so easy for me to just be like, come in. I'm like, okay, I don't have to really, I mean, I do warm up
You don't have to get all nasally,
Yeah, I don't have to do
jump
that.
up and down. Because people don't. So I'm
No,
sorry to
you're good.
interrupt. But from the outside in, like Chuck Duran was on the show the other day and we were
Oh.
talking about like what it's like to take on the emotions. And me from the outside, I'm a remote guy. I like staying where I am. I'm not going to go out and move around, right? I've got roots where I am and I love my studio. So there's a downside to that when it comes to entering a career like this. And it's that you do not have peers to watch live time go through their process of how they're getting things onto the mic. That's important because when you get in front of people, you're going to be completely different than you were when you were home alone because I look like a damn fool. I'll start a conversation like 5 minutes before the lines are so I can be so far into it, that I'm like, what are you doing? And what are you doing? And this is it. And that's the line. It's that part in the middle of a whole entire speech that I'm only trying to put out. But you get in front of people, you're like, is this how they do it?
Yeah.
Right? You don't know that that's allowed, so to speak. Like, am I going to be embarrassed? Are they going to look at me like, who's this fool? Look at him. He's jumping up and down. So, that's just my outside looking in. It's been it's actually been a growth opportunity for me, right? And I appreciate being able to step out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, 100%.
And because here's the reality, jumping around, acting like a fool, or doing whatever it is to get prepared is actually me. Like if I'm not preparing in that way, then I'm just taking away from the opportunity to be me when I do speak on the mic.
Exactly. Yeah. They hire you to be you.
It's a lesson in loving yourself.
I'm an in-studio person. I like doing in-studio. I hate the LA traffic and having to plan like 5 hours ahead. But I did a session because I can say this now. I was the voice of Galaxy AI for Samsung. And
Sweet.
I got to go in and it was like my first, big girl job with my agency. And I was so excited. And I go in and I did all the lines by myself. And I was so upset because when I got out, there was all the other actors that were also the other people in like the commercial, like, oh, we're doing a group recording. I was like, I missed out on that. I want to do a group recording.
Cool.
Nobody does that anymore.
But do you feel a little bit fancy coming out of there by yourself?
Yeah, they were like, well, you're,
There's a little bit of baller when you can come out, shake everybody's hand, and leave as the one that did your own. I mean, I'm not saying that it wouldn't. I want to lord myself over anyone, but it might be kind of cool to walk out of there. And be like, great session, guys. I'll see you next week.
Have fun in there.
You guys, good luck in there. Bring your A game. I can just demean the shit out of them. But see, we're laughing because you and I can see the juxtaposition of that and the funny, way that unfolds. However, that's like a cutaway, right? We laugh at that because there are people in your industry. I guess I should be saying my industry too, but in our industry that will put you in an uncomfortable position through leveraging things that don't necessarily exist, like clout or your reputation, your resume, all these things, all these reasons to carry yourself a certain manner that puts people in a position to feel inferior or question themselves or question what that person thinks of them. And the reason why I'm going down this road is because we're here today to talk about mental health in the acting community as a whole, or maybe the art community, arts, that kind of, environment. And I want to give you the opportunity, given that you're now at the level that you are, to go ahead and tell us what that looks like today. What's the landscape of mental health in the fields that you work in and what's concerning you?
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of a fresh perspective on it because I think it might be a little bit different as opposed to somebody that's been in the industry for a while. And I have a lot of friends that, are up in the industry, up in there, been top dog for a while, or, just like it's their full-time job. They're constantly working on stuff. And I feel like it was a very almost rude awakening of how it can be. I feel like it's like looking through rose-colored glass at first, but when you come here and you're like, oh, you're mean.
This
You're
is it?
actually awful. Like, there are people that I'm like, oh.
You can't smell breath over the phone. It's gonna stink in real life, but you don't know. You're really hitting on something though, because people should realize how much is not real in this world.
Yeah.
Right. While it's important and we need to exercise the arts and create these types of things as a society, just know what you're consuming is literally like one of those old Western sets where it's like a front of a house with two sticks behind it and everybody behind it is playing poker and taking Xanax or something else to try to get through the day. Yeah. It's not what you think it is.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There are some amazing people in the industry, and like majority, at least because of the people I surround myself with, are good people, and they want to give you and they want to help and give you opportunities. I mean, that's half the reasons where I am today. I would always be so scared, like listening to podcasts and hearing everybody say, you need a mentor, you need a mentor, you need this, you need that. I'm like, I don't know where I'm going to get a mentor. And then I meet people like Gray Delisle and Sissy Jones and Sarah Cravens and Jennifer Hale. It's like, meeting all these people that are genuine people.
You were made to meet them, though. You were writing that so long ago. Yeah. Like it was bound to happen. When somebody starts living completely authentically, you bypass all of the toll gates. You run into things that you don't expect. People are like, oh, that's lucky. I'm like, no, bullshit. It just means you're in the right place. Yeah. The puzzle piece isn't lucky for fitting in its spot. Ooh. I like that.
That's deep.
That is deep, but it's true. Right? There's no work involved in that because you're living your dream. Mm-hmm. Right? So your rose-colored glasses, which were issued to you, by the way, right? We're given those. We grew up on TV, and TV gives us one side of people. So you're wearing a lens that was painted for you. That's something that we should all realize that we wear. There's implicit biases in there too, and other things, right? So we wear these lenses. You show up and you see that maybe people are not what they portrayed themselves to be on camera, on mic, or in these, meetings. And now you're standing in front of them. What does that do to a young woman who's now hedging all her bets? Stepping out on a ledge to find out the ledge necessarily isn't as sturdy as it looked from another city.
I feel like...
Man, I'm on fire.
I especially feel like it was such a hit when I was trying, I had my demo and I just making my animation demo and I was trying to find representation is when it really hit me, because it was how I was told to market myself as a person of color, particularly by white people. And it was...
Yeah, we always know what we're talking about.
Well, it's like...
You know how hard it is to be a white man with a podcast that's trying to help people? Shut the fuck up, Mayo. Nobody wants to hear your mouth. You're the problem.
I mean, I don't know. It was just them just going and be like, well, you have to, you're Indian, you're half Indian. You should be more Indian. You should slate with an accent. You should, your name should be more Indian. You should be, you should be doing this. You should be doing that. You see this successful actress, she's doing that because of this, and she's doing that because of that. Why don't you have any Indian voices in your demo? It should be the first one. I'm like,
Okay, so we've gone so far off the rails that at one point we were not allowing people of color to enter into the group, that now we're like, yo, come on in here and act like that. Be Indian. What the f is that? Right? No, you be Zelda.
Exactly. And they're like,
oh my God, I couldn't imagine.
Well, you're not gonna get far as Zelda. I'm like, okay. People tell me like I'm not gonna get far, and if I just, I have to be a certain way of like playing to the white man in order to succeed in this industry.
Right? You had a childhood built on having to play roles for other people. I don't see you buying into that twice.
Nope. And I did not.
I'm with you. I am absolutely proud of you, because it's real easy to slip that mask back on because it hurts when people are telling you you're something that you're not.
Oh, yeah.
That's a painful thing to have to hear.
I had actors telling me that.
And I'm glad that you stood up for yourself.
And the first agency I got recommended to was like, no, she needs to change her name. She needs to be more Indian or other. We're not going to take her. I'm like, wow, okay,
Change your name?
Yeah.
What is that even? Like, I would be afraid that I'd be canceled for suggesting that.
Yeah. And well, the person that did, the agent that did say that was like, relaying the message and being like, yeah, she needs to change her name. And she's white. I'm like, okay.
That's so ballsy.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was recommended by somebody that's not like, they're not nothing in this industry. Pretty well known. And to get a recommendation, I was like,
I'm on the hook for what everybody else says, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
So hopefully you gave that person a little bit of a break for that referral.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think they expect you to go that far.
Nothing against them
by
at
the way,
all.
you need a new name and you need to dance, wear cat shoes, and fucking or whatever the fuck they were telling you to do, Indian style, whatever that means. What? That's not cool.
No.
So they tried to, it's kind of like whitewashing somebody.
Yeah.
But
like
trying to force you to be what they think.
Yeah, like to be a stereotype. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen. So how did you push back against this?
I did, I didn't change my name and I didn't say anything about it to that agency. Obviously I'm not with them. But it was like perplexing because, people that are successful in this industry that see more of the industry than I do. I'm like, well, I don't want to change my name. I spent all my life trying to be something, being too Indian. And now you come here and tell me that I'm not Indian enough. But it was the fear mongering of like, hey, you should, it was disguised as care. It's like, oh, well, you can make it far in this industry. There's not a lot of Indians in this industry. You should do this. You should do that. I'm like, but I had good friends around me that solidified like, hey, that's bullshit. You're going to find another agency. And lo and behold, I did.
And that's what it's all about. But here's the reality. You were given a set of tools prior to this through the experiences that you've gone through or lenses, right? Zelda that had just moved to New York may not have reacted the same way. Right? May have said, you know what, maybe I should be doing this, or maybe they could convince you that you weren't being yourself and that was yourself. Because people do that all the time, right? And that's what creates mental illness down the road. It's inauthenticity, right? Anytime that you're not acting from a place of passion as yourself 100%, you're giving yourself baggage and weight to carry later. You're giving yourself issues. You're giving yourself no escape from yourself. And you're denying everybody the beauty that is you.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
It is your job. You're onus. You're Zelda. You're supposed to be as much Zelda as you possibly can. Not Zelda, from The Simpsons. Fucking, what the fuck is that? God, that was good. Like, it's so like, what the no, be you.
Exactly.
And besides, your voices aren't stereotypically Indian.
No, I really can't. I really can't even do an Indian accent. My grandmother has this combination of Indian and British. So it's not like this guttural Delhi accent that they're looking for. And I'm like, I don't really know.
They're looking for Raj.
Yes,
from
Big Bang Theory.
Big Bang Theory.
That's what they're looking for. I'm like, well, I'm not that. So
are we done with that as a society? Can we just stop?
I would hope so.
Trying to manufacture personalities and roles for people to live in, to create a new faction or a new place to sell shit to.
And that's what was so authentic. I have a poster here. You can't see it, but it's of Kali from Project Parasomnia. And Kali is South Asian, but she's just South Asian. Like, she's not some stereotype. She's not, I didn't have to play around. And, when I was cast, it was me doing a voice match they wanted a voice match of a character and they wanted like a South Asian person that could do voice match. I'm like, oh, that's me. Hello.
I'm on
So I got it.
You have such an amazing ear and ability to take on the emotions of somebody else's character. And that only comes from somebody who's in tune and is empathetic and can feel what people feel around them at all times. I think that actors are the good or the skilled actors, or the ones that we remember, are the ones that become the people that they are imitating or, creating as their own character development, whatever it might be. But they become that person. And you've always become those people when I've heard you in the roles in some way, shape, or form. You can hear the sass, you can hear the anger, or you can hear the laughter. But it feels the same as if you were feeling it at the same time. And that's because you are, right? That comes with strings attached. Roles can be very difficult to come in and out of.
Yeah.
Mental health, it plays a big part of that when it comes to the acting community. We've seen many actors that have come out of characters and they're never the same, or, God forbid, not here.
Yeah,
Have you found any roles that made you feel, different afterwards, or that kind of weighed on you because you had to sit in the character for too long?
It always weighs on me every time I do South Park. Because I can't do any of the current voices. I can only do Mary Kay Bergman's voices. So whenever I'm Shelly or I'm the mom or like any of the female characters, she voiced all of them. And she unfortunately passed away actually in 1999. She suffered from mental illness. And, I understand, it's just something that sits with me because I understand and I get it. And unfortunately, there was, which is what I'll talk about later, but there's a situation where I couldn't do voices for quite a while. And I mean, I don't know if you even listen back to the first interview that we had, my voice might be a little bit lighter, a little bit less raspier.
It is.
There was a gas leak almost about a year ago in the place that I lived. And
oh my God.
I had bronchospasm because of it. And bronchospasms, inflamed lungs, because of the gas leak, I had to go to the hospital and they were like, yeah, you have bronchospasm. You have to be on an inhaler.
That's your world. That's everything you do there.
So
oh my goodness.
the impressions have stopped. You don't see as much stuff on my Instagram anymore.
No, you don't.
Of me doing that. And I mean, half of it is because I've just gotten more serious and busier with voiceover and work in the entertainment industry. And the other half is just.
That was training.
Yeah.
That was fun, lifetime training. Most people don't have the gumption to get up and do what they want to do before they're professional in front of anybody because they love doing it. Right? And repeating mistakes and seeing mistakes as opportunities. Well, I don't have to do that again. Now I just figured this out. Oh, if I change this, I can actually dial this voice in a little better.
Exactly. And you know, I'm not perfect. You see a progression. If you scroll all the way down to my TikTok.
Oh, don't go back to episode 1.
Yeah, if you want to torture me, just play my old work. But there's a progression. And I got to where I am because I put myself out there, even though I wasn't perfect. There's a lot of people that are like, well, I think I could get a little better before I start posting and stuff. I'm like, well, there's always going to be a progression. Voiceover isn't you graduate and then you're done. You're always constantly improving your craft and stuff like that. So.
But it's got to be something that you enjoy doing when nobody's looking.
Yeah. Oh, you have to enjoy it. You have to enjoy it.
And it's funny for myself coming into the career, I want to say probably 20 years ago. I was living in Japan and I was teaching Japanese to an executive from Sony.
Oh, wow.
Whatever, right? But it's conversational English. So he comes in, he sits down, and they're already amazing speakers. And I'm almost ashamed to sit there and I just stopped taking money from them. I'm like, just don't pay me. We're talking about your family and what you do. Let's just whatever. But he kept saying you have a great voice. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm thinking it's just because I speak Japanese or did speak Japanese fairly well. So I thought he was just kind of complimenting that. He showed up one day with a recorder and he's like, can you do me a favor? And I'm like, do you a favor? I'm like, sure. He's like, can I record your voice and say this? And I'm going to try to find it and put it on in the episode, or I'll put it on social media. But what it ended up being was solutions for innovating tomorrow. Right. And it was for Sony and like this whole entire TV thing that they did and I never got paid. But no, I just didn't know. Like he liked my voice, and who knew this many years later, it's what I was supposed to be doing the whole time.
Wow.
So weird. I have it's like CTEC, CEATEC. It was this whole thing they did. So I remember and I didn't even know I should have got paid until now.
Yeah.
I'm like, they use the shit out of my voice.
Wow.
I'm like, I'm probably on billboards right now. But I didn't realize, that's where I was supposed to be. Plus, being neurodivergent, you have stems. Yeah. And I didn't know that I was neurodivergent most of my life. I mean, I had an inkling to what it is. I had been diagnosed, but it just didn't have any real roots for me to dig through until you meet more people with, the same issues. And with the advent of social media, you can find a collective sigh of relief and, that more people have the same issues as you, right? And one of the things that I do, and I've always done, is voices for anything and everything. If I hear the TV say something stupid, I'll repeat it for 5-10 minutes afterwards in different voices or as that voice, or if I'm talking about friends or somebody I saw at the store or just hanging out in the house, I just do voices. I don't know why. My son absolutely loves it. Because he has a lifetime cartoon character. My wife just ignores it because she's already figured out that I'm insane. But I'll be damned, I can stand up on a mic and it is so easy to do these characters because my whole life is a STEM.
Wow.
Had no idea.
Huh.
Right? So long story short, it just having that route into it and figure out where I am now, I see that had I been, and I shouldn't have been yet because I wasn't ready, but had I been authentic at that crossroads in my life and loved myself enough, hell, I may have never left there. I may have had a career there. I may have had all these different things, but just a little misunderstanding or not knowing my worth or who I am allowed me to miss that at that point. But coming closer to myself again, here it shows itself up again.
Yeah.
Right? You don't recognize things in the moment. They become waypoints throughout life. You look back and you're like, oh. Or the tools that you get so you don't end up crumbling when you get there. You found friends. You found the right friends. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about surrounding yourself with people that help you reassure yourself, to give you the confidence when we don't give it to ourselves, or to tell us, that we're worth what we should feel worth.
Yeah.
Right? Tell me what that's like, because you must have an amazing group of people that you surrounded yourself with in order to get through those hurdles.
100%. 100%. Incredibly grateful for all of the people that I have, in the industry, or even in the industry or just figuring it out with me. I've got friends that are like, well, we're kind of in the same boat of we're waiting and we're auditioning and we're just still on the audition grind, but we still have our day jobs and we can relate to that. And then I have people in the industry that I can call, I can text, I can lean on, and they're here to protect and they're here to guide and always help me in all aspects, even if it's not voiceover, even if it's just personal. They were there for me during the gas leak and they were there for me trying to figure out I lost my bread and butter, and it isn't my bread and butter. One of the things that I was told by one of my first coaches is you have to have another life outside of this. This is going to destroy you if this is your life. I'm like, I don't know.
You're going to get the neuroticism of that mother. If you force yourself to be her and panic and this, that, and the way she talks, our minds are very malleable. It's why lines of talk or in our own head, when we repeat things to ourselves, we create patterns and we create solid factual feelings about ourselves just because we're saying it. And it's worse when you're saying it out loud and internally over and over as an actor, I'm sure, right? Over and over and over, because you can't shake that shit off. Jim Carrey did a great interview talking about when he played Andy Kaufman. Holy shit. Really? Yeah, that's why he's different now. Like his brain split that day. He figured it out, was through that role. Or at least I'm saying things for him. But that's, that was one of the biggest changes in his life, was seeing how malleable the human mind, character, and ego actually is, to the point that we are so impressed yet so stupid that we will pay people to be different people and celebrate them for being more people, different and better than others, but not realize that we chose one role and we could actually be all of those too. In real life or on screen. Like the clues are right in front of us.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I feel like for me, I had to let go of voiceover in order to be okay with it. And what I mean by that is, a lot of people in the industry, whether you have 5 credits or 50 credits, even working in the convention industry as well, like so many people put their self-worth on what their resume is and what their characters are. Are their characters important enough that people want to buy an autograph from them? There's so much insecurity and comparison and anxiety that is so in this industry. It's like, it's very few actors I have met that are truly grounded in this industry where I'm like, listen, if I'm busy and I miss an audition, I missed it. I'm busy. I can't break myself to stay up late and try and like make this happen. If it's not happening, it's not happening. And I had to get to a point where I had to let it go in order to succeed in the industry. Like my acting, you could hear it. I was starting to sound insecure. You could hear I was trying too hard because I kept looking at, what am I going to get monetization wise out of this? Like what money am I going to get? Because there was a time after I'd left from the gas leak because of the hospital bills, because of the inhalers that I had to, test and trial with, because there was trial and error with, like, one made me too jittery, one wasn't working, another one wasn't working, and things, I still have asthma to this day. So it's pretty much I can say permanently changed things. But it got to a point where I was like financially not stable. I have a new mic now, you'll see. I had to sell my Sennheiser in order to afford rent the next month. And half of the booth has been reinvented because I got to a place where I stopped caring about voiceover. And it sounds so weird. Like, why would you not care? You have to care in order to perfect your craft. I'm going to do it. I'm just going to do it. Like, I just have to get a place where I'm just going to do it. Just going to go here. Just going to send this audition. Great. If I hear back, great. If not, okay. I already forgot about it. Like, that's how you can succeed. That's how you get that real grounded, true acting when you don't, for me at least, when you don't care.
Does a farmer look over his shoulder for plants when he throws seed on the ground as he walks by?
Nope.
No. He leaves it there and it grows itself later if it's fertilized, if it's got water, or if it's in the right conditions. If not, it's just advertisement. Because you're not sending out a bad audition. You're sending out an audition that didn't fit the role.
Exactly.
Right? And at the end of the day, if you're caring about monetization or you're caring about the opinion of the people that you're working for, then you're painting looking over your shoulder.
Yeah.
And that's going to give you a shitty picture every single time.
100%.
Right? Just paint your fucking picture. Paint it so damn well that people gather around you. The money comes to you when you're you.
Yep.
When you're looking over your shoulder and going, oh, do they want me to use blue? Do they want me to use red? What color should I have in my left hand? Oh, I see a scowl on that one guy's face. Maybe I should have used a different marker. What the fuck's that look like?
And
you know, aside from like a Jackson Pollock painting when you were trying to do, the soup can, whoever the fuck that was. Who did the soup can? I'm so uncultured. You know what I'm talking about, right? Who did the stupid soup can, that famous painting? But at the end of the day, what you're explaining is, in the way that I'm taking it, is that you were almost forced to be yourself.
Yeah.
When, not to say that you were being inauthentic, because you were being authentic along this path, but I think that there was a need for the assistance of great actors before you to have put their neck out there, and then you get to enjoy working with their craft in front of people without as much, what's the word, exposure, right? I think that it's kind of like singing somebody else's song, right? And we can do it great, but we're never going to get famous from it.
Yeah.
Name one famous cover band.
Can't.
No. Weezer did the Teal album, and it was amazing. I'll say that. I'll put that out there. But they're they are so underappreciated. But I digress. Right. So you're in LA. You're getting these opportunities. You've gone through what is one of the hardest things you could possibly face, given that you had sold everything to that day, banking on yourself, and now your instrument is failing on you. Right? Would you say that that's one of those moments where you find yourself on your knees and questioning who we are?
Oh, 100%. Absolute rock bottom for me, like having to be like, I don't know. I was like, at this point, I had to sell a bunch of stuff in order to afford rent for the next month. And I had just moved in, I moved in everything by myself. I was working full time. So like from 9 to midnight, every night I would be moving, and I'd finally moved all of my stuff in, and unexpected shit came up. And then I'm like, oh, I need to sell this mic. And I had, that mic was it was my very first big purchase, because like the Sennheiser was like $1,000. And I'm like, well, this is my commitment that I'm going to be serious to this. And it's always been so back and forth, because I mean, a lot of people think, and I fell victim to it too, like that giddiness of like, oh my God, I have an agent now. I'm going to get stuff. It's just like, oh, well, the fight is never over. You are constantly perfecting your craft. Okay, you got an agent, great. You actually have to work even harder now. And the work and the pressure is double, because you need to make sure you're worth it to them. You need to make sure that you're worth their time.
They need ammo. If they're buying them as your gun to hit your auditions with, you better give them bullets. And that means you got to hone your craft, because they're putting their back behind you. You're their check. If you're like that bang flag that comes out of the front of the gun and they're like shit in front of all their friends, right? That's the other thing. Agents putting their name on the line every time they're putting you out there. Right? And if you show up, not with your A game, that reflects on them. Right? So how did you progress from there?
I mean, I felt like such a burden to them half the time, because it was like, there was one time I emailed them and I was like, hey, I'm taking a mental health break. So, you can send auditions my way, but I might not be doing them. And then I had finally gotten back from my mental health break, and then the gas leak happened. I was like, hey, I can barely breathe, so I can't really audition right now. And after the gas leak, during that time when I was like selling all my stuff, and I went in to do an in-person audition, because every now and then they'll be like, hey, our booth is open if you have time. And I love going in person, even to audition. So I went in and I was just getting ready. I'm like, damn, I'm probably gonna break it to him after this. And he just took the moment before, and he just gushed about me. He's like, you're just so talented. He's like, I know something is coming up for you. It's like, I know what's happening. He's like, we're gonna work on it. I'm like, okay. So I did not leave.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Like that old worm fish on SpongeBob in the wheelchair. I appreciate it. Give him some chocolate.
I love that thing so much.
But I could only imagine, right? But I'm also happy for you, because you were put on the precipice of failure.
Mhm.
When in reality, that precipice, I say it all the time, like we view authenticity like we're standing on a cliff with a blindfold
Mhm.
on, right? And that to step off is that fear, right? That's authenticity. But we find out that it was actually a curb, right? And that being yourself was really super effing easy once you believed that you were worth who you
Yeah.
are, or these roles, or these friendships, or to be
Mhm.
you on any kind of stage, right? Life stage. So not many people come through tragedy, trauma, and things like that with this type of outcome, right? So you had just figured out that you being you was worth being, right? And that's what's going to give you the best platform, the most success, and the happiest success, right? Because success is not measurable by dollars and cents. It's measurable by smiles and, friendships, in my mind. Right? I used to think it was, right? I think a certain level of maturity allows someone to enter maybe into this field and not feel as rejected when things happen, because I think podcasting helped me with this.
Oh.
And I think it's a desensitization thing. After you've edited yourself enough and you've put enough of your big mouth out there, especially because it's almost like cognitive behavioral therapy, to hear yourself speak to others, you find your neediness, you hear your issues, you criticize yourself, you do all these things over and over again. But in the end, you end up just not caring anymore. Because you're like, oh, wait a minute. Well, that's me, right? That's who I am. And I just need to get over it, right? And it's a form of desensitization. And I would argue that maybe that was also what Zelda doing all of those roles on TikTok, where you were doing the amazing impressions of different cartoon characters over time, that you were getting a chance to desensitize yourself to the outside world at the same time.
Yeah.
The rejection or the acceptance, or just not giving a shit anymore what comment is in any thread. Would you say that's 100%? The case?
I mean, I miss back when, like in like 2022 or 2021, whatever, when I would mostly put like a lot of efforts towards like cosplaying and stuff like that too. Like that was my time to escape.
It's dope.
It was so much work and so much time. Like I had time to do it because it was a pandemic, and I used to work at a restaurant, so I didn't have a job. But yeah, it was such a creative outlet, and it was my time to escape. And I think that all had started to change when your passion becomes your career. I can't use that to escape. There's a little bit more pressure. There's like, well, here's an audition coming. You have to do that. You have to constantly perfect. And when you get serious about this, it's less of like this is my outlet. I'm doing this for fun. Of like, oh my God, I need to start making some money. I need to start doing something, like it's that comparing. And it's just, you reach to a point where it's like, I don't care. I'm going to do my own thing. Everybody's journey is different, which is what terrified me about voiceover in the first place. Because it's not like, there's no steady process. It's not like you go to school, you go to college.
They don't issue you Candyland and tell you how many steps to get to here, there, or whatever, the bubblegum forest or whatever the fuck it is. Like mine's more like shoots and all ladders. Right. And you're not wrong. And I think that's a great point to bring up, though, because our job, I believe, because there are no maps, there are no pathways to success, right? They're completely bullshit, right? So my take on that is we have to become a lighthouse in our authenticity and let other people see, A, that it's okay to be a lighthouse, which is being authentic, and B, you can take your cues from them and find your way simply by seeing them be themselves. Yes. And when you are yourself, you give license to others to be themselves You allow it to be acceptable to be yourself, because people know that you're not being yourself, even when they don't know you're not being yourself. That's why they're not comfortable with you. There's a reason you don't get along with someone. Ask yourself why you don't get along with them. There's at least a 50% chance that you're not being you first.
Yeah.
Right? If one person brings a mask to the party, 9 times out of 10, the other one's going to go get theirs. Right? But if you show up and you say, you know what? No masks allowed. We're cool no matter what. I like to call them sweatpants friends. Right? Come to my house. If you can dress up to come to my house, or if you look like you wore perfume or some shit like that, like, I'm going to be aggravated, because then I feel like I have to put on something that takes a belt. Like, I don't want to do that shit. I want to sit around my house. Let's hang out. Right? Suits are for the fucking game. Like, I don't do that anymore. There's no reason to. Right? If you ask yourself, who the hell remembers what you were wearing at the last party? Nobody. Only you. But you spent so much time thinking about them when you were picking it out. Are they going to like it?
It's not worth it. It's not worth thinking, you waste so much of your energy and so much of your time thinking about what is my worth to other people. If you just carry the weight of, if you just live on, I don't know, I can say it as simple as possible. It's just funny because I can say it all I want, but it's still just such an issue in this industry where people aren't living authentically, and people aren't, people are constantly worried and comparing. And
you know what's funny? Again, the clue is in front of us. The ones that are successful and we love for eons and would stand the test of time are the ones being themselves. Like, every single time, all the artists out there that have actually been famous were the ones that were being themselves. You know who's not famous? The one trying to be that artist.
Yeah.
Right? And what a disservice to the world to be throwing up somebody else's fucking shit and not your own. That's a lot of work, dude. When I got into music, I hated playing somebody else's shit. Like, it just doesn't, I can't do it. I don't feel it. It's not mine. It feels dirty. It just, I can jam to it. I can love it. But I'm not going to put it out there in front of people and act like it's mine, even if it's just me singing it. It doesn't work that way for me, right? But it's also because I was bullied and thought that everybody was always taking a shot at anything I did. So I had to remove all capabilities of somebody to say I was a fraud, if that makes sense.
100%.
You lose some creative license in that, but you understand what it's like to not be yourself growing up.
Yeah.
Remind everybody what that's like, coming from where you came from.
Yeah. I mean, I feel it's funny to because I originally wanted to get into acting to not be myself and to have that ability to escape. Because, growing up as a kid of color in a conservative, small white town, you had to try and blend, and I can try and blend all I want.
You were the only pharmacist.
Oh, yes.
Like, I grew up in a town like that. Like, it's like, there's like 3 Indian people, and it's the pharmacist, the doctor, and then, Mr. So-and-so that runs this place. I lived in your town, just in a different part of the U.S.
And I mean, it was a rough journey of having to hide, and then, feeling like I can come out here and start being myself. And they're like, no, you actually have to be the exact opposite. And then, just coming in here and living authentically. And there's a lot more people now that, especially that are newer in the indie scene that are like, hey, we're looking for an Indian character. We're not asking you to play around, to dance around and do the accent and stuff like that. They're like, we just want
not go all Bollywood for
we don't need to go Bollywood. We just need, proper casting. And I'm like,
I laugh because it's so ridiculous that people are asking people to do this.
And you know what? People do it. I see roles that I'm like, I'm not doing that. And somebody takes it and somebody gets the kudos for it. I'm like, yeah, that can't be me.
I don't want those kudos.
No, I don't either.
They don't want them either. Even if they do, they
No.
don't. And they'll realize later that it was just something that they were chasing for no reason, or to take care of that inner child that needed to be, satiated for whatever pain they were
Exactly.
in. I need this acceptance. I need this role because then I'm worth it. I'm worthy. Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
And I you can't blame them for taking the role, but at the same time, it's like, I wish I could tell those actors, like, hey, if you're not comfortable, I mean, imagine you're not comfortable dancing around and playing this. I'm like, well, we need to stand together and all that, because this is a very old school way of doing things, and it's just not right.
We're on the precipice of change. We have the opportunity to capitalize on a lot of things with the advent of technology, with the changing of perspectives, the younger generations looking to rewrite implicit bias and to take away systemic racism and things like that. And I believe that the onus is on the creative community to start that momentum in that direction, and to do it with care, right? I like to point out that we don't give arts credit for the change that they do create. And I'm going to point out two of them that are extremely obvious, and that's science fiction and comedy, right? Shit comes true. We've been chasing the pins and cameras and words of so many amazing artists for so long that we've continually created things in reality that match what was on the screen, when we just thought that it was nonsense. It was insane. What the hell are they even drawing? That's nothing that could come true.
Yeah.
Right? So now we have this opportunity where we can build new communication, right? We can create a new narrative for what is normal as a society, right? Use AI as a great example. It's a box of words and letters and numbers. At the end of the day, you shake it up, you ask it a question, it spits it out, right? But I was thinking about this the other day from a voice perspective, right? So it has to interpret humans correctly, right? And we all have that issue with the system. It doesn't get that I'm pissed. It just gets that I'm saying this. Doesn't hear my intonations, doesn't hear my cultural sounds. It doesn't hear anything except for type, right? But it will, because they're creating large scale units that are working on understanding natural language processing, right? So to me, I think that we're now going to have an opportunity for two countries, two cultures to have a conversation where now there is an non-biased interpreter in the middle that can put weight on words that don't exist in other languages with long-term feelings and legit weight to them. So when we're talking to another country and they're like, oh, I love that, right? Well, love an R word is not what they said. They said XYZ, and it actually means their entire lineage, and they would die on a sword today for you, and yada, 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 right? Not what you said to your girlfriend yesterday. So, but how are we supposed to know? Because maybe we haven't had that cultural opportunity to see what that means to them. But if we have something in between there that can say, hey, you know what? This word means 10 words. Their one word here, they decided, meant all of these things in one. And it gives you a better understanding on this side. But it doesn't get accepted until people can see it on a screen or hear it or get that validation that it's acceptable and that it's real or it's becoming real. We almost need somebody to hold our hand to do a dot to dot before we'll paint the picture. And that is the creative community. It's people like you, right? That now you're not doing Cartman's mom, right? You're doing Zelda, and the best Zelda possible in whatever role you're given. And you're not playing a character, you're playing an emotion, a situation, a feeling. And you're conveying it to people so that they can embrace it, right? And I think that you are one of the few and rare artists out there that has a natural gift and will affect change, right? I don't think that there's as many as there should be. But I think if there's more like you that stand up and be themselves unconditionally, flaws and all. Dude, I laugh like a moron. The first time I saw somebody write something in a comment about how stupid my laugh was, I almost cried.
Mhm.
Right? They took my laugh. Who does that? Somebody in pain.
Mhm.
Somebody that needs somebody else in so much pain that they would question whether or not they should ever laugh again. Right? But you show people that it doesn't matter. Go out there every time, be the best you, and people will love you for who you are. Not for where you come from, not for what you represent, other than yourself.
Yeah.
Right? I want to give you a couple moments to tell everybody where they can find you, wrap up with anything you want to tell us about that you have coming up, and go from there.
Awesome. I guess, if you want to find me anywhere, I think I'm Zelda Khan Black. Website is zeldakhanblack.com. If you want to check out all of my stuff that I'm doing. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. That's me. That's my stuff.
I got one last thing to ask you. New actors, voice actors, people starting their creative careers, they're going to enter into this and they're going to find what we're discussing. Mm-hmm. What practice would you say that they should maintain in order to see what's going on around them objectively?
Ooh.
So that they're not wrapped up in it?
I think the most important thing, and you'll hear a lot of voice actors say this, is community. Having people around you that can help, that are actually, that are good for you and that are going to help guide you. And that's why they always put emphasis on, you need a mentor. You need somebody that's going to help guide you, somebody that actually is there and somebody that actually cares. And if we're on the topic of plugging stuff, I would say go no further than Skills Hub. Acting.skillshub.life was founded by Jennifer Hale, who is, if you know her, you know her. Commander Shepard, Cinderella, Jean Grey from X-Men 97, all the things.
Jesus.
Like, if we want to talk about somebody grounded and somebody that is just a force of energy that cares and is here to protect actors, like Jennifer Hale is it. And she has a place in Skills Hub where you can go, it's how she did her career. Step by step by step. She put it into steps, and she's like, here's how you can do this too. She has AMA, she has acting hot seats, she has everything you need in Skills Hub with discussion boards, with, it's a great spot to just foster a community of like-minded people where you are and get access to a bunch of like casting directors or voice actors that are there for you every step of the way.
I absolutely love that. Community is extremely important. And I think it comes back to that puzzle piece that we were talking about at the beginning, that you can try to be a corner, you can try to be an edge, you can try to be any of those things, but you're not going to find your people until you are the piece that you were designed to be, and you'll fall into place. And all those people around you are meant to be there, right? If you're forcing yourself into spots you don't belong, you're never going to feel supported. You're never going to feel successful. You might look successful on paper. I've been that dude. Right? All right, buying Audis and he's got a theater in his house and all this stuff. And I'm fucking hating life every night. Just falling over with anxiety, panic attacks, all that kind of stuff, when this is honestly what I'm supposed to be doing. So I like that you're giving people a good foundation to work from, because community is extremely important. And my piece of advice for everybody going into that is to trust that you're worth who you are and put yourself out there. And it's a lot easier for other people to come to you when they don't have to look behind a mask, right? So take your mask off, go meet your friends, have a good life, right? And they'll appreciate you for it. And also, nobody loves you if you don't love yourself. Like, you're the least sellable product. You might as well just be like, I don't taste good. Like, and you're a drink. With a label that says, I don't taste good. And believe it. Of course, everybody thinks the same. But you're awesome. You're doing awesome things. And I am so happy that you stuck to it. I've had to sell important things before to pay rent. I sold my Fender Stratocaster. I had an 82 Inca Silver Strat that I sold so my wife and I could make our first apartment rent. I was like, well, bye. And I left the house. But 15 years later, my wife found it and bought it.
Oh, wow.
And gave it back to me. Yeah. So it's hanging on the wall and it does not get touched. And I'm so happy about that. But at the time, it was no question asked. Right? But you could have called your parents. You could have found a different job. You could have changed your entire direction, but you said, okay, I'll just sell this, get the next one down, best I can do for what I have. Been there, right? Microphones come in increments, man. Like, and what they don't tell you is that your voice sounds different on all of them. And some are made for you and some aren't. And if you can't try them out, you don't know until it hits your house, whether or not it was yours to begin with. So I think you will have all the mics you need and you're going to really make your mark. I can't wait to see where your voice is going to land. Like, and honestly, I don't know why you're not on camera.
It's a lot of work. I mean, my robe is just over there. I can put that on. I can sit. I
have seen you on camera. The way that you carry emotion and the way that you portray characters, that's pretty dope.
I feel like I'd be a lot pickier about on camera.
And here's the thing. You just get good enough where you're not in the group of people going in. You're just the one and you leave afterwards. So somebody else is doing your makeup. They're getting all your stuff. You just sit there. No work. Thank you again, Zelda. I genuinely appreciate you. Remember, everybody, it's thetragedyacademy.com for the podcast. And then for the studios, it's tragedyacademystudios.com. Thank you very much. And remember, everybody, be cool and keep learning.